Welcome back to Collider Movie Talk. Today we've got a Fast and Furious story for you. Imagine if you got to count how many punches you threw in a fight. On top of that, a brand new trailer for the movie 1917 from director Sam Mendes. We are going to share our thoughts on that trailer, and we're also going to discuss if this movie has any award season potential. And it's the perfect day to do something like that because you guys know it's Thursday. Jay Washington is always here, but we also have Scott Mantz on the desk today. I've got quite the pair to work with.
Damn right. This is what's happening.
Energy and energy.
Always
and energy.
Everyone always feeds off you.
Yes.
Damn right.
All right.
Let's do this.
Let's jump into this first story because it's a big one and it's an interesting one. I'm going to read through some of this, so bear with me here. So, according to a piece from the Wall Street Journal, there have been some fight scene-related demands on the Fast and Furious franchise. Apparently, while working on one of the films, Vin Diesel sensed that Jason Statham was landing more blows than he was during a fight scene. So Diesel came up with an idea to assign numerical values to every headbutt, roundhouse kick, body slam, etc., so that he could calculate a total and then determine if the two were getting pummeled evenly. Eventually, that plan went away because they deemed it too complicated, but in different ways, these demands are still being met. A producer on 5 of the Fast and Furious movies, Michael Fattrell, said fights are choreographed to ensure that none of the leads come out looking like a loser. When asked if vanity plays a role in those decisions, he had said no comment, but then added, of course it does. According to producers and crew members on the films, Statham negotiated an agreement with the studio that limits how badly he can be beaten up on screen. Diesel has his younger sister, a producer on the film, police the number of punches that he takes, and Johnson enlists producers, editors, and fight coordinators to make sure he always gives as good as he gets. It's a lot. Is there any reason to this at all?
First of all, Perri, Jay, I know you're laughing, and you should be laughing because this is ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
But, especially for people who've just been so entrenched in movies for as long as they can remember, reading all sorts of outlandish stories, but behind the scenes, outlandish star demands. If I didn't already know what I knew about some of the behind the scenes on the previous Fast and Furious movies, particularly when it comes to Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel. I mean, Jay, Perri, look at that picture behind you. That ain't acting. Those two guys really did go head to head and got into a friggin' pissing match while making these last few movies. So the fact that they are now counting punches, I mean, they're not counting lines like other actors do. They're counting punches. That's ridiculous.
And you hear about how fragile Vin Diesel's ego is a lot. Mm-hmm. And this just solidifies it to say, oh, well, why is he throwing more punches than I am? How come he threw 8 punches and I only threw 6? Like, are you serious? The Rock, I said this before we started filming, The Rock is safe no matter what. You came from a world where you got whooped in a choreographed setting. This is the same thing as a movie. Calm down, Dwayne. Like, for real. Nobody's going to make you look that weak. You'll never look that weak on screen.
Okay, bear with me while I try to at least look at the flip side here. So I'm going to attempt to understand what's going through everybody's head, because everybody out there knows my top priority when it comes to any film is just like the creative process and the quality of the movie. And when I hear about individuals with star power like this making these kinds of demands, I worry about the quality of the movie and the fight sequences suffering. But when you look at these 3 individuals in particular, their entire careers are based on the fact that they're big action heroes. So I can understand why the concern would go through their heads. I just wish there were executives and producers on set that would put a stop to it. The other thing, though, that this article does point out that is kind of fair, I want to pick the right quote here, but it said, at one point in the article, it says the Fast and Furious movies wouldn't be releasing their 9th installment if the lead characters kept offing one another, which is a true thing. And then there's also a comment somewhere here from a Universal spokesman, and that said, the fights ensure every character has their moment and that all are seen as formidable opponents. Each Fast character is a hero to someone watching, and we never forget that. It sounds like an excuse to me, but it also sounds like an excuse with at least some validity to it, because I think that statement is true.
And it does, and we've seen this through now 9 movies. With Hobbs and Shaw, 9 movies. No one is ever going to look at a Vin Diesel character, and nobody's going to look at a Dominic Toretto. Nobody's going to look at an Owen Shaw. Nobody's going to look at a Luke Hobbs and say, oh my God, they all of a sudden got weak. That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
And listen, I I understand that actors are concerned about their image. I mean, what actor isn't? But if you go back to like the 80s and the 90s, when Stallone and Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger were like the top action stars, like you never heard any stories about them counting punches. You know, real actors, you know, they count lines. I mean, they shouldn't even do that, but they do. I mean, I've read a whole book about the making of the original Star Trek, where William Shatner actually did count the number of lines he had compared to his co-star Leonard Nimoy when Nimoy was becoming more popular as Spock. He counted lines, but he didn't count punches. That seems like ridiculous to me. And, you know, in the end, these Fast and Furious movies are only going to go a certain way. And the only reason one of them didn't go a certain way was because Paul Walker was no longer with us. And they wrote him out in a really classy, touching way. But otherwise, these movies are what they are. No one's ever going to really look bad, because in the end, the good guys are going to win, and they're always going to look good.
And that's the thing, at the end, no matter what happens, even if all three of them were to get beat up, at the end of the movie, all three of them will stand tall no matter what. And so for them to say, to have Jason Statham, who says he goes into the editing bay to watch the fights to say, take this out, basically, make sure that stays in. Even The Rock doing that, Dwayne Johnson, whatever you want to call him, he'll be The Rock, because for this situation, you are a professional wrestler who is getting upset because of the number of punches you take or you give. And again, I will always go back to, your career was built off of an entertainment sport where you were choreographed on how much violence you took and gave.
I was actually curious about your wrestling perspective on all this.
As somebody, I have another match August 10th in Long Beach. You can catch that. Check me on Twitter. But it's crazy to hear that. Nobody is ever going to look at The Rock and say, oh my God, he played weak. You're about to do Black Adam. You're finna play this giant anti-hero in a superhero franchise where inevitably you'll go up against Zachary Levi Shazam. Now, granted, you should dominate over Zachary Levi, but the story doesn't always tell that. You're going to say Zachary Levi can't throw more punches than me, or when you go, whatever else you're doing, this is absurd.
So this came from the Wall Street Journal, right? Okay, if you came to me with like a 3x5 card and said, wrote this like headline down, and you said, Mantz, is this true or is this false? What do you think? I would have said it was false. But coming from the Wall Street Journal, obviously it's true.
Yeah.
And that's what just baffles my mind with this.
It doesn't really surprise me all that much because of what you brought up earlier with the behind-the-scenes stuff that we out in public have heard about. And I do understand egos in the industry, but I just wanted to read something that you had brought up. In the piece, it said that Statham had been known to swing by the editing room to weigh in on fight scenes. According to post-production crew members, it's like the old trope where an actor comes in and wants more close-ups, said one furious editor. They want more muscles.
Unbelievable! Wow.
I think one of the biggest questions I have after reading this piece is, do these restrictions and concerns then pertain to all other movies they sign up for? Because again, I think the point about the characters and everybody being drawn to a different Fast and Furious family character is very valid, but if these kinds of demands are being made on every single set they're on, that's where it becomes a problem.
And that's the question, does that happen? We'll hear about this one because, like you said, all the stuff we've heard that's happened behind the scenes since The Rock came aboard. Since Dwayne Johnson. I'm sorry. Some of y'all, his name is Dwayne.
Fast Five.
Right. Since Dwayne came aboard, we've constantly heard of the bickering between him and Vin Diesel. We've consistently heard about it. So, yeah, this is believable. But if you tell me, like, for instance, in Jungle Cruise, Dwayne Johnson was like, look, they can only hit me 2 times. Like, something like that. Or to tell me that in Guardians of the Galaxy, Vin Diesel doesn't want Groot being hit.
But hang on, Jay. I don't think, of course, it's just an opinion here, but I don't think that Vin Diesel is going to have the kind of pull on like an original film, maybe that's not a sequel or based on a pre-existing property, as he has on the Fast and Furious movies. He's been in 8 out of 9 of them, and actually he's been in all of them if you include his last bit in Tokyo Drift. So he has been in all of them.
There's something to be said though sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off because I know the point that you're getting at, but it just popped in my head and I started dribbling it out. There's something to be said because I'm thinking specifically because I was rewatching Atomic Blonde. Do you see how many punches that Charlize Theron takes in that, and it winds up making the fight scenes even better because she overcomes so much.
Right. That's a good point. That's a great point.
And which we were talking about in the article as well. It mentions about the women in the movie. You didn't hear about that with Michelle Rodriguez and Ronda Rousey. They don't count punches. They know it's going to make both of them look good in the end.
But Perri does bring up a good point, because if you are taking it and you give it back, and it's going to make your victory that much sweeter.
And you were making a good point too, because that probably clarifies whether or not this kind of stuff is happening on other movies. This is a huge franchise that they're signed on to for these specific characters. The franchise needs them involved, so they have to meet the demands they're making.
And they're actually making it. I mean, this is technically a spin-off movie, not an actual part of the Fast and Furious saga.
Fast and Furious presents.
Right, Fast and Furious presents. Right, but they are in the middle of filming Fast and Furious 9 as we speak. So I wonder how those punches are being counted up right now.
I want to know what John Cena's contract is going to say. I really want to know now, because hearing this, now you have Dwayne Johnson who's going to say, hey, John, listen, I only have this amount of punches that I'm allowed to give, or somebody else is allowed to take. How many do you want? That's going to be ridiculous, because now hearing this, it is literally going to make some fans who are super analytical go in and start saying, that was 1, 2, 3, start counting them.
You know what? People are going to go back or maybe they'll see, this weekend, or do one of the more recent Fast and Furious movies. Someone with a lot of time on their hands
is going to count everything.
Oh my gosh! Wait a minute. To everybody watching, I challenge a Collider fan, a loyal movie talk fan.
Don't make someone do that.
Wait, hang on. I challenge a loyal movie talk fan to go back just to Fate of the Furious, the last movie, because it's already on Blu-ray. It's on, you can watch it as many times as you want. I challenge someone to go back and watch that movie and count the number of punches that these actors and actresses take and give, and come back to us with a tally. Hit us up back at Collider Video.
It's only a matter of time.
Come on.
I would believe it's going to happen. And if someone out there ever does send us that count, we will talk about it on this show. All right, before we move on to story number 2, which is the 1917 trailer, we've got some stuff on the Collider Video YouTube channel to tell you about, like Jedi Council. Check out this promo.
Hello, how are you guys doing? I'm Christian Harloff. I'm the host of Collider Jedi Council. We talk about everything Star Wars, and if you want to catch our weekly show where we talk about the latest and greatest in Star Wars, it's movie news, it's canon, it's all of it. We take questions from you guys. How do you do it? Main channel, that's right here. Subscribe to this channel and you can listen, you can watch, you can do all of it, but if you want to just listen to it, you got the podcast feed too. Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, you can listen to it in your car. Do all of it. It's Star Wars. Episode 9's coming out, and then after Episode 9, you got TV shows, so we're going to be your sports center for Star Wars. Do it. Come on. Be real.
In addition to Jedi Council, I urge you to go on over to Collider.com, where you could find a brand new Collider Spotlight piece on Luce star Kelvin Harrison Jr. I know we have 2 Luce fans sitting at this desk today, and he is something else in that movie. And it's not just that movie. He's great in It Comes at Night and pretty much everything I've seen him in. So watch out for him. He's something else, and he was a super cool guy to talk to, which doesn't hurt either. Check that out on Collider.com. All right. Story number 2 now. We're talking about a trailer, because Universal released the very first trailer for Sam Mendes' new movie, 1917. George McKay and Dean Charles Chapman star as 2 young British soldiers, and the film will follow them over the course of a single day at the height of World War I as they attempt to deliver a message that could save 1,600 soldiers. Guys, I'm just going to ask you, what'd you think of this one? Because it looks epic to me.
It looks epic. First thing I thought of was Saving Private Ryan.
I was going to say same thing. I caught Saving Private Ryan feels immediately.
Different war.
Different war, but you catch the feels automatically watching this.
Yeah.
And then you hear the story. You got to get your brother out.
Right. Okay, that's the point. That's a good point, Jay, that I'm glad you made, because it made me think of Saving Private Ryan for a good reason. That it is a personal mission to save. Saving Private Ryan, it was like, the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. But in this one, it's obviously the reverse. But, Sam Mendes does make very good movies. I mean, he's an Oscar winner for 1999's American Beauty. I did love Road to Perdition. And of course, Skyfall was great. Spectre maybe, was okay.
Spectre, everybody's
fine. I mean, how do you do that? How do you follow up Skyfall with Spectre? I mean, whatever. But 1917, it does look epic. Roger Deakins finally winning an Oscar for Blade Runner 2049 looks like he's in top form. And the look of this movie, we haven't seen too many movies about World War I compared to the ones we've seen about World War II. But the trench warfare for World War I is what made that war for lack of a better word, unique. That's what people always refer to as the trench warfare. But just from this 1-2-minute trailer alone, the scenes of the claustrophobia and the long takes that you see of the guys like walking and running through the trenches looks like an angle we've never seen before in a movie about World War I.
The movie that popped up in my head first when I saw this, probably because it's one of the more recent war movies and it's also shot by Deakins, is Dunkirk. That's the first thing that popped up in my head. And while I did really like Dunkirk, I think because of that movie, I appreciated the focus on these two individuals on this one so much, where it does feel like it's going to cover, like, it's going to have a huge scope, but we're going to have the heart of the movie be these two individuals. And I'm just so excited to see more from Tommen. Tommen's in this movie.
I love how the trailer focuses on a lot of, like you said, the trench warfare, the claustrophobia. You even see when they get trapped in the building, you have that one body laying down there. You see them going through all the explosions when he's running, how perfectly timed they are. That is something that is a thing of beauty in film.
Well, also, when at one point in the trailer, I mean, it's only 2 minutes, so you can just watch it. But when they're in, like, I guess it's a bunker, and it's like a hidden bunker, and the only light you see is the light that they're shining. So again, it feels very immersive is the word I'm looking for.
And there's something about the use of the title work in this trailer too that kind of like it almost adds to the feeling of being like suffocated and trapped a little. So whenever you can use something like that in a piece of promo material and it enhances the effectiveness of it, I'm always applauding that. But obviously the big question with this movie now, especially with that Christmas, a Christmas limited release, and then it expands on January 10th.
Right.
That's an award spot right there. So does this trailer say to you, keep an eye out for this movie?
100%, absolutely, positively. I mean, just look at the pedigree of this movie. Okay, Mendes and Deakins alone. But the fact that they're giving it just a prime Oscar season release date, starting in a limited release in December, expanding it throughout the period of time when people are going to be like voting for like Golden Globes and SAGs and definitely for Academy Awards. This looks like Oscar bait in a very good way.
And it's a nice period piece. Like because I
like
say
Downton Abbey.
No, because I say that because, like you brought up earlier, we don't talk about World War I.
Right.
A lot.
Right.
We don't. And so to shine a spotlight per se on that is something that'll stand out to the Academy voters. So definitely this is Oscar bait.
And the other thing is, like, in terms of World War I, the movie Tolkien, about J.R.R. Tolkien. That was a Fox Searchlight movie. And, that the World War I scenes from that film were actually pretty good. And I was thinking before I even really knew about 1917, like, man, they really need to make a good movie about World War I.
It's funny you bring that movie up. So I actually never even saw it, but now I need to watch it because one of their press mailers, so I'm the worst with plants in my apartment, and their press mailer this year was like, it was like a little twig in like a blob of dirt in like a potato set. Like, it came in a box and I just plucked it out and that's all that was in it. It had like a little card that said the movie title, and I kill every plant I own. I took that plant, I put it in a teeny tiny wine glass, and I was watering it very, very diligently. That plant is like this big now. So I feel like because I made that plant grow, I'm like obligated to see the movie now.
Check it out. I mean, it's an interesting movie, but what do you think, Jay?
I've never seen Tolkien, but if it takes a plant living to see a movie,
I feel like no one out there believes me that I actually didn't kill this plant, so I will take a picture of it when I go home, and I'm going to send it to you.
I don't think anybody can deny you killed the plant the way you said it.
I purposely don't own plants because I know I'm not going to be able to take care of them well.
We get this.
You are a cat person.
You're a cat. However, it was like if they sent you a cat in a cute little thing.
Seriously, that cat would be alive and thriving. All right, before we close out the show today, we are going to turn our attention to the live chat where we've got some questions. Oh, I don't like this one because it's negative, but I'm going to ask it anyway. J. Scott for Real wants to know, what's the worst film from your favorite director?
Oh, wow. That's a really, really good movie. It's the word. Okay, I got it right here. This is easy. I know I'm going to probably alienate you on this, Perry. And I don't know if Jay, I might alienate you too. But the worst movie from my favorite director is Steven Spielberg. The worst movie.
No.
Go, say it. You say it.
Are you going to say Lost World?
No.
Ready Player One?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I don't know. That's the one that would have hurt the most, I think.
Oh, really?
Lost
World? Just so you know, she's a diehard Jurassic Park fan.
I assumed you weren't going to say Jurassic Park, so my mind went to the next one that he directed.
My worst movie, I mean, I'm just sort of keeping the fans in suspense here. Steven Spielberg's worst movie, and I love him to pieces.
Don't say Hook.
Hook.
Really?
That was the one, Perri Nemiroff. Come on, Jay Washington. You know, search your feelings. You know it to be true. I hate that movie. I hate that. No, I hate that. It is like that movie wants to be loved so bad. It wants to be loved so much, and it doesn't earn its emotions. I mean, he tries so hard.
Bob Hoskins.
No, he tried. They try so hard to make a,
Dante Bosco's
no, that movie is awful. Hook is the worst. Sorry, Steven Spielberg. No, Jay.
I can't.
All right, follow that up, buddy.
I can't because I'm hurt. I'm hurt. Like, I don't know. Jesus.
That's a great question.
I would say The Lost World, though, for me.
What is Spielberg your favorite?
He's one of my favorite. It's hard to think. He's one of my favorites. I can't think of the top. I didn't like The Lost World the way they did it. I just felt like, okay, now we're going to have them. I just
love the T-Rex in San Diego.
That was the thing. I didn't like the dinosaurs in the city. Just like
That's always the part that everybody
it's
your
just
favorite
dinosaurs in the
director.
city just chilling. Like
Spielberg is my favorite director.
Okay, but we got to pick another director.
Yeah, my mind obviously immediately, and he's not my favorite director out there, and I think there's more than one miss on his resume, but because I love Independence Day so much, I get very upset when I think about Independence Day Resurgence.
Oh, God, that's awful.
And it's like, after that movie, I kind of didn't want to see anything from Roland Emmerich anytime soon after, so
I thought that way
that's
after
up
2012.
Yeah,
remember that one?
2012 is not my favorite either.
Oh, yeah, that's bad. Wow.
Oh, I love this question, Mantz, and I have to ask it to you, even though it's kind of ridiculous. Wolverine, is asking, do you think an animal will ever get an Oscar soon?
Well, you know what? An animal should get an Oscar. The pit bull in Once Upon a Time in
Brandy.
Hollywood.
I don't know Brandy's real name, though.
That dog gave an amazing performance. And that dog saved the day.
I'll say this: Goose didn't get nominated from Captain Marvel, and Goose was one of the heroes.
Oh, wait.
Isn't there another animal that everybody was going nuts over this year?
I'll give the dog from The Artist. I'll give the dog that should have been nominated for an Academy Award.
Also, the cats who played Church in Pet Sematary were quite good.
Very convincing performance by a cat, sure.
I feel like this should be a real thing.
I'll let people have this. Air Bud. Some of you, people just want Air Bud to be mentioned. Air Bud, just because it's Air Bud.
Maybe one day we can dream. All right, let's get one more in here. Yeah. Let's go with Sinfinity and Beyond is asking, what is the best war movie you have seen, the one that sticks with you the most? I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was Saving Private Ryan. And it's also because we did that Spielberg list fairly recently, and I just rewatched almost all of Spielberg's movies. And it's crazy how many times I've seen Saving Private Ryan, and it still blows me away every single time I revisit it.
I got to go back real quick. I forgot who my favorite director actually is.
Okay,
it's Spike Lee, because I worked with him. Oh, my bad.
Okay,
that was my bad.
Well, that's a big one.
Worst movie, The Sweet Blood of Jesus. That movie is terrible. It is terrible, and oh boy, but The Sweet Blood of Jesus is horrible. But back to
you know what movie I like of Spike Lee's? Girl 6.
Girl 6 is great.
Underrated. Okay.
Chirac is underrated too.
Talk about
Please
war
check
movies.
that out.
I love Private Ryan, but not only is my pick one of the greatest war movie ever, but it's one of the greatest movies ever, period. And you will get to see it on August 15th and August 18th in IMAX theaters in a brand new high-definition 4K restoration. That movie is Apocalypse Now, the final cut. Holy friggin' Toledo. I've seen this movie like 30 times in the original version and then the Redux version that came out in 2001. But when you see Apocalypse Now Final Cut in IMAX, which is the way to see it, you don't just see the movie. You live it. You feel it. This movie rocked my world. It was like seeing it for the first time. It's amazing.
Very good call.
It's Saving Private Ryan for me. That movie stuck out because I remember the first time we all watched it. It was a group of friends, and we didn't know what to expect. So when you're just watching the opening scene, you see Tom Hanks, and all of a sudden you just see the boat open up, and somebody gets shot, and you're like, whoa!
Oh, a bunch of people got shot.
I'm just the first gunshot that happens, though. It's just something about them. The action keeps you, then the story grabs you, because then you want them to definitely succeed, and especially the fight when they're in the church, and he's like, no, and the knife is going to his chest. There's so many moments that you're like, I love this movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Absolutely,
Yeah.
It's definitely in the top 3.
All right, we got a whole lot of recommendations for you guys now, so you can go go and watch a whole bunch of movies. Maybe find out, you know what? If you think a pet in 2019, an animal, deserves an Oscar, we want to know who you think it is. Put that in the comment section below. I want to make that a thing.
Yeah.
How is that not like a good like Oscar luncheon activity or something? We should make it happen with BFCA or something.
I mean, look, could be a whole episode for your consideration. Best pets in
I just
in
want
Oscar
to see
history.
Jeff Snyder talk about
There's
best
something,
pets.
I know, he would hate us
I
if
just
we
want
ever
to see Snyder talk about best pets.
I gotta see Jeff
That's
Snyder
the only
talking
thing. I
about
just want to see
pets.
Snyder talk.
He's going to get up and walk out.
Thank you guys for indulging me today. That was a wonderful
That was
time.
fun.
Mans,
Cheers.
Jay, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
always.
being here. Adam in the booth, thank you for your hard work. And also Dorian in the live chat as well. To everybody out there, thank you for watching another episode of Collider Movie Talk. We are going to be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. PT live. But before you click out of this video, you know what you should do? You should like and share it and make sure you are subscribed to the Collider Video YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our content. See you tomorrow.